Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to the Creatures of the Night podcast. This is Chris.
And this is Wendy.
And we're live on location at the Pine Hill Cemetery in downtown Dirty Dover.
Well, not live, but on location.
On location.
Yes. Bugs and sunlight and car noise, but beautiful setting. It's gorgeous cemetery. We passed by it a million times that I've been here, never stopped inside. And there are some gorgeous headstones.
Oh, yeah. This is one of my favorites. There's been a lot of pictures of this place on Instagram over the years. This place is beautiful now, and it only gets more beautiful. Like fall's gorgeous, winter's gorgeous. Like I've just gotten some of the most awesome pictures from this. I've found pumpkins at headstones.
That's nice.
There's one all the way in the back that is an unknown.
Oh.
Yeah. And people leave it flowers and pumpkins and things like that.
Oh, that's so nice. Is this the one that you would take like your walks in when you go for like a lunch?
Yep.
Yeah.
This is the one.
It's nice.
So we're actually setting at like a family plot what it looks like right now. And
I can't see the family.
It's Barnes Douglas.
Oh, okay.
I don't know this family, but hopefully we'll give them some entertainment.
They had a shady spot and stairs. Thank you for that.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
It's an awesome spot. And it doesn't seem to be like a family fun time zone like some of the other places where we've been.
Yeah. I mean, it could be, though. I just took a nice jog through here.
Yes, you did. So we've been driving around New Hampshire today, coming back. It's Sunday. It's Wendy's final day here with me. So we just made it out of the mountains, and now we're back, like I said, in the Dirty Dover. So it's been a long drive.
Lots of driving. Yeah, we talked about that in the car. You know, maybe we should plan a trip where we kind of sit still somewhere. But sitting still is not always so fun. It's nice. It really is. But when there's so much to see.
Yeah.
We counted it up. I've come to visit Chris 6 times in the 7 years? 9 years?
7 years.
7 years that you've lived here. And I still haven't seen everything we want to see.
No.
We forgot shit today.
Yes. Well, and there's just not enough time for it.
No.
Sometimes we get sidetracked. We find things in the woods and we're like, bam, this is it. This is gold. We got to investigate it. And we do our best to investigate the things that we find. And then it's like 2 hours to get back home.
Right. Well, we do need to admit that we are ladies. We will make time to stop for coffee, pee breaks, and forgetting to pack stuff, having to stop at the store.
Yeah.
Things like that. That's how we do things. It eats up a little bit of time. But, I mean, I think that we still did pretty good. We got a lot done.
Yeah, we did. It's just, again, bummer that this is the final day. I mean, I know I'm going to see you in a month, but fingers crossed that nothing changes. But
I know. You never know these days.
Nope, you don't. Anyways, we are at a location to podcast, so I'm going to tell you a spooky story. The unfortunate part of this is that my story is about aliens.
How did you keep your mouth shut this morning when I was talking about this?
The funny thing is you had to text my husband to make sure that we weren't going to be doing the same story.
I wanted to because I was doing something a little local, and I just wanted to make sure you weren't on the same wavelength.
Right, which makes perfect sense. We are together, so you might do something local. So she texted my husband the stories just to make sure. Just he's like our go-in-between.
Right.
And he started asking me a little bit more about this one. And I was like,
So he did delay in responding to me.
And I didn't tell you that.
And I thought something was up with that. And I was like, I wonder if hers are about Alien 2. Not the same place, or he would have immediately told me.
Right,
you know?
right. Yeah. No, you can't do that.
But I'm like, oh my God, we are somewhat alike. I feel like that's why he's not replying. Then I thought, no. He's just busy, I'm sure. I'm not like top of his priority list.
Yeah, Wendy was telling me all of this, and I'm like, yeah, I'm sure that's what it was. I'm sure he's busy.
See, you say you're not a good liar, but you kept a straight face.
I had to keep looking straight ahead of me.
me.
I do like to make up stories, but this was really difficult. So we do a story each. Wendy gave me her story yesterday. It's the one you just heard last week about aliens and the moon. And the whole time I'm like, oh my God, if she says anything about my story, I'm going to cry.
Well, listen, I can't wait to hear this.
Okay, well, good. So the reason why I did this story is because Wendy has asked me in the past for me to tell one of my alien stories. She's like, I can't wait for you to do an alien story. So the problem that I had is zeroing in on one that I wanted to tell you. There's just so many damn awesome stories out there. So
that
it's
is true.
Take your pick. Okay, let me sit down for a year and thumb through all of these. But while I was doing research, I decided to just zero in on a couple of the stories that all took place in Kentucky.
Okay. Random state to pick, but
Yeah,
all right.
exactly. Yes. I'm thinking that that's what was the clue to my husband when he was looking at mine. Because he didn't say specifically anything about your stories. But when he knew what my stories were and he started asking me a lot about this, I'm like, he doesn't have any interest in the paranormal or about aliens. So
What is
why
is he asking?
Yeah. So, for starters, there is the Captain Thomas Mantell incident. It's considered to be one of the classic early UFO incidents that shaped public perception of the phenomenon. In 1948, the pilot was sent from Godman Army Airfield to investigate a massive circular object hovering at an extreme altitude near Madisonville, Kentucky. Eyewitness descriptions of the object estimate that it was around 300 feet in diameter, possibly metallic, and trailing a gaseous green mist.
Ooh.
One observer claimed that it briefly descended before shooting upward to its original height at a speed greater than 500 miles per hour.
Yeah, we don't have planes that can do that.
No. Mantell actually pursued the UFO in a F-51D Mustang to an altitude of more than 25,000 feet before presumably losing consciousness due to the lack of oxygen.
Ooh, shit.
His plane crashed near Franklin, Kentucky, and the object disappeared soon after. Richard T. Miller, who was monitoring Mantell's radio talk from Scott Air Force Base in Illinois, claims he heard Mantell clearly exclaim, "My God, I see people in this thing."
Interesting.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes, I like that he called them people.
Yeah, right?
Okay.
I actually thought you were about to tell me the story last night.
What?
That one specifically, because you were talking about the cylinders and all of that and the color, and I was like, ooh, no. But so that was just one of the stories that I found about Kentucky. Like I said, I've got a few more. This next one is actually the longest of all of them. I dug really deep into this one because it has so many twists and turns.
Okay.
So now on to 1955, and right into my next story that is regarded by UFOologists as being one of the most significant and well-documented cases in the history of UFO incidents. This story is a bit lengthy. I just said that, sorry. But I had to leave in all these details. They're just so good. This would be the story of the Kelly-Hopkinsville Encounter, the Hopkinsville Goblins case, or the Kelly Green Man case, depending on who you ask.
I like the goblin one.
Yeah, exactly. That was like another one of my draws. I was like, is it aliens or is it goblins or is it something else? So here's what happened. Back in 1955, 50-year-old Glennie Lankford lived in a simple farmhouse just north of Hopkinsville, Kentucky, in the small town of Kelly. She owned a little farm where her son, J.C. Sutton, helped to run it along with his wife, Eileen, and her 3 children, Lonnie, Charlton, and Mary. They had a few pigs, a dog, and some farm cats. There was no radio, phone, or TV, and their only water came from a well in the backyard. On the evening of August 21st, Mrs. Lankford had a number of guests staying at the house. It was Elmer Sutton, who was her oldest son, his wife, Vera, as well as Elmer's friend, Billy Ray Taylor, and his wife, June. Eileen's brother, O.P. Baker, was also staying there that night. So I'm hoping that this was a pretty big farmhouse because I'm counting 11 people.
They were packing them in. You know, they were all having some moonshine.
No.
And they were like, no, you guys can't drive your tractors home.
No,
Come on.
Sit down. Just stay seated.
Just grab a spot on the floor.
They were actually all over for dinner and maybe a game of cards, I guess. They weren't having like one of our old card game get-togethers because there would be no alcohol allowed on Mrs. Lankford's property.
Oh, okay.
She just didn't like it, so it wasn't allowed. So that's why when you said moonshine, I was like, no!
Yeah.
There's no moonshine.
Well, they
She
might
wasn't
have been
getting down like
sneaking
that.
a few swigs while their mom wasn't looking, you know.
I'm guessing she just made one hell of a meal or some bomb-ass pies.
That
to
is
kinda
true.
tie in
You
that
eat
crowd.
a whole lot and you got to take a nap.
Yeah, I know,
So
right?
it's not safe to be driving on dark roads.
No, it is not. So around 7 p.m., Billy Ray went out to the well for a drink of water and saw a bright, silvery, saucer-shaped object gliding silently through the air. And as it flew, there was a trail of multicolored exhaust following behind it. Sort of similar to the other story.
Yeah, and also they're polluting our air.
This is so
it's
true.
not us. It's them.
What is this shit? The object flew in from the south and stopped over the neighbor's field to the north of the farm. It then descended straight to the ground and appeared to settle in a gully which was roughly 300 feet from the house. While witnessing this incident, he ran back inside and told the others that he'd just seen a flying saucer. But everyone in the house was like, no, you didn't. You probably just saw a meteor. Sit your ass back down, Billy Ray, and have some more pie. So within an hour of the sighting, their dog starts going bananas and was said to be barking violently. So Billy Ray and Elmer go running out through the back door to see what's going on, and they witness their dog running under the house with its tail between its legs.
It's funny. They won't believe the dude, but when the dog starts freaking
barking.
out,
Yeah. Well, they're on a farm, so they're like, is it an animal? Is there someone fucking with our animals or whatever? So, yeah, now they're going to go and check it out.
Yeah.
At that time, the two men noticed an eerie glow approaching them from the field. Around the same time, a neighbor had reported that they had also noticed lights in the woods behind the farm, but had figured the family was out searching for one of their pigs that might have gotten loose. But as the glowing light was coming closer and closer, Billy Ray and Elmer could make out the small figure of a creature. They said it was less than 4 feet tall, with a large, round head that seemed to just rest directly on its shoulders. Excuse me. The creature had very long arms that appeared to reach almost to the ground. It had huge hands with talons on its fingers and large, floppy ears.
I just don't even know what to say. First off, I start to think, do you think aliens think that we're ugly? Like, this doesn't sound quite attractive to me.
Yeah.
So you think they look at us and go, look how nasty they are with their proportional faces and small heads.
Small head.
Yeah. Lumpy
That's probably
bodies.
why they want to test on us. They're like, what's wrong with them?
What's wrong with them?
Why do they
Where's
grow
their
like
talents?
that? Are they mutants?
Seem to have them.
When my son was a lot younger, obviously he's old now, but I think he was 3 or 4. He hated getting his nails cut. He was so he would cry and scream and he'd get so mad. And one time after we cut his nails, he goes, now my talons are gone. Boy,
your son's an alien.
Where did you come from? Where did those ideas come to you? Yeah, he was like talons. So it's funny that you mentioned that. Where are your talons?
But it does sound very goblin-like as well.
Yes,
the description.
Exactly. With the ears and everything?
Yeah.
Its eyes appeared to point outwards, and it emitted a yellow light. Its upper body was very muscular, but it had very thin, spindly legs, and it seemed to not have any knees.
Can you imagine those people that draw for Amy Allen drawing this?
Yes.
I need this visual.
You do? I have one for you, but give me a couple minutes to get to it, okay?
Okay.
Let me build it up. The entire creature was silver in color and gave off an eerie glow in the darkness. As the creature slowly walked towards the house, it raised both arms high up to the sky, and they terrified Elmer and Billy Ray, ran back into the house and grabbed their guns.
That'll take care of it.
Yep, that's what they were thinking. One grabbed a 20 gauge single barrel shotgun and the other grabbed a .22 caliber. The creature continued to approach them, and once it seemed to be about 3 feet away, the men opened fire. But they said that as they shot at it, the creature did a backward somersault. It then fell to all fours and ran back into the weeds.
This is an elf.
This is terrifying.
I'm so baffled.
Billy Ray gave his gun to JC and got a 12 gauge shotgun instead. Billy Ray and JC then shot another creature that suddenly appeared peeking in through the window.
No.
Oh, yeah. Again, as they shot it, it flipped backwards, landed on all fours, and ran away. The men ran out of the house, expecting to find this creature dying. But just as Billy Ray walked out past the overhanging roof, a clawed hand reached down and touched his hair. I'm here. Let me get a feel of what you got going on there.
They love it. They're so fascinated.
Oh, yeah. I think these creatures were just kind of fucking with them, honestly. Eileen pulled Billy Ray back inside, and Elmer traded places, who immediately began shooting at the creature on the roof. Billy Ray then noticed another creature, which was on a branch of a maple tree in the yard. They opened fire on it, as soon as they saw it, but they said that the creature didn't fall once it appeared to have been hit. Instead, it gently floated down to the ground. They shot it again, and it scurried off into the weeds. It's so cartoony to me.
It is. It is so insane. It does sound like they're just fucking with him too. It's like, oh, you got me.
You got me. I'm going to play dead.
And then it does a dramatic fall down.
Right.
And then it's like, fuck. Oh, you're still shooting at me.
Oh, crap.
It doesn't like my show.
Doesn't like this.
I'll try again.
At the same time, another creature appeared, and Elmer shot this one at almost point-blank range. He said that when it hit him, the sound it made was similar to the sound of shooting a metal bucket. Cha-ting, cha-ting,
Like it's made out of titanium.
Yeah, right.
Steel or something.
Yeah. Well, they said it was all silver, too.
Right.
Later, the men shot another creature that was on the roof, and when they hit it, the creature floated 40 feet across the yard and landed on the back fence. But it, too, scurried away when they shot at it again. For the next 3 hours, the creatures repeatedly approached the house, climbed over the roof, and kept peering in through the windows. And all but one of the 11 members saw the silver creatures for themselves. And the witnesses all said that the creature would only approach in the cover of darkness, and it never stepped into the glow cast from the yard lights. And when they approached the house, they walked slowly with an upright posture, but after being shot, they dropped down to all fours and ran away by propelling themselves with their arms rather than with their legs.
Yeah, like a creature.
Yeah, like a creature.
Yeah.
These beings also seemed to give off more of a glow once they were shot, but they also glowed even more when they were being shouted at. Like they were responding.
Yeah. Like a little E.T. like.
Yeah. And the witnesses said that there were never more than 2 of them at the same time.
What if it was just the same 2?
Right, exactly. I mean, they're running quickly off into the weeds. I mean, and always in the dark. So you don't know where another one's going to be until it's on the roof, messing with your toupee or something. By about 11 o'clock that night, the group became hysterical. They piled into 2 vehicles and drove to the Hopkinsville police station. The officers on duty noted that everyone appeared to be in shock, and investigators found no signs that the witnesses were intoxicated in any way and had ruled out all drug-induced hallucinations.
So I guess they weren't sneaking those sips.
They weren't. There was no moonshine.
What a lame party.
It was kind of a lame party.
Yeah.
That's what I said earlier.
Well, it got
like
exciting.
It did. Maybe that's why they were there. They're like, this is not bumping. Let's get this party started.
They're all trying to go to sleep and they're peeping in the windows. You guys go to bed already?
Ready? Come on. It's early. I brought Sylvester here with me this night. Come on, let's show him a good time.
He's like, you got to see what these fucking humans do. They are so crazy.
They're so crazy. Oh, wait, they're not crazy tonight. How do we make them crazy? So they immediately called the chief of police, Russell Greenwell, and the Kentucky State Police. Greenwell, 2 state troopers, and all of the people involved drove back to the farm. The Christian County Sheriff's Office also sent a deputy sheriff and called the photographer at the local newspaper, who showed up along with his wife. Why not?
She's like, I'm sorry, what
Yeah,
are
what
you
is
going to go
going
take a photo of?
Oh,
I'm
no,
going
I'm
to get my
coming.
purse.
She's putting on her lipstick in the car.
Yeah.
In case. She's going to take a selfie with it.
I cannot wait to share this at bingo.
I know. 4 military police from Fort Campbell, a reporter from Madisonville, and 1 or 2 curious locals also arrived on the scene. On the way to the farmhouse, one of the state police admitted to hearing a whining sound, which reminded him of artillery fire, and then saw 2 streaks of light flying downwards to the farm. Now, later on, the officer made the statement that it must have been meteors he saw, because several other locals also claimed to have seen meteors that night, too.
What they thought were meteors.
Right, exactly. I mean, I've seen shooting stars. I've never seen a meteor shoot past me and make a whining noise. Like, that's okay. Whatever. The small army of witnesses, reporters, police, and investigators converged on the farmhouse and flooded the scene with light. The witnesses remained outside while Greenwell led the investigators through a search of the house, yard, and some of the surrounding fields. They very clearly saw evidence of gunfire, but they found no evidence of these creatures.
Like no footprints or anything then?
Nope. Nothing. Not a thing. Bullet holes were found in the trees, the side of the house, and through the screens of the doors. It was clear that they were shooting at something.
Yeah, but they could just be crazy. But, I mean, those things also could float.
Yeah, right.
What if they were never touching the ground?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, to leave a footprint.
Right. What was documented, though, was that the witnesses all showed clear signs of shock and terror. One of the medically trained investigators who rode to the farmhouse with Billy Ray measured his heartbeat at 140 beats per minute, which is twice the normal average.
Yeah, I mean, if you're lying, I don't think that you can really exert your body physically like that.
No. I mean, that is some serious adrenaline going through your veins.
Yeah.
He thought he had to protect the family. He was out there with his gun, shooting off at whatever he saw, and he was still pumped.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, my God, get away from me, B. Get away from me. I punched a mosquito earlier. I'm going to get you.
That's a bee, though.
Oh, my God.
It's a little different.
Why is it around me?
What bee?
He's gone. I threatened his life. Okay, so Greenwell and a few others reportedly discovered a small patch of grass by the back fence that was luminous at a certain viewing angle. This was later suggested to have been some type of bioluminescent fungus, which is sometimes referred to as foxfire. Greenwell, who had his own UFO sighting back in 1952, believed the witnesses had seen something strange, but he had no way to prove it. Nothing. There was nothing there. Investigators began to leave once it became clear that there was nothing left of the creatures. And around 2 a.m., the exhausted group felt like they were finally free to go to sleep. Or so they thought.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'd be like, maybe we should get a hotel in town.
Maybe we should just not stay here tonight.
Yes, that's terrifying.
Yeah. Well, they decided not to do that. They tried to go to sleep back in the house. And around 2:30, Mrs. Langford was laying in her bed with her head towards the window when she noticed a light from outside. When she opened her eyes, she saw one of the creatures had returned and was again peering in. She said she could see its claws on the screen. She quickly notified Elmer, who shot at it in spite of her protesting. She's like, give it up. You can't kill him. Just go to, I mean, he wants to watch. Just look at him. He's not going to get much of a show. Shit. You know? More shots were fired in the next 2 hours, but the creatures were never deterred. They showed no hostility whatsoever and never once attempted to actually enter the house. It seemed like they only wanted to look inside. They were last seen just before dawn around 5 a.m. Later that morning, investigators returned for a more extensive search of the grounds, and the story made headlines. It was first reported by the local radio station, WHOP, in the early morning broadcast, and their news reporter interviewed the witnesses later that day. Bud Ledwith, the engineer and announcer, arrived the same day with the station's owner's son. He spoke with Langford and the Sutton woman and drew a sketch of the creatures based on their descriptions, and he also documented the witnesses' earliest recollections. So, you asked for it, and I am going to give you a drawing of said creature.
I cannot wait.
This was the drawing.
No, this is not what I envisioned. These are not floppy ears. I envisioned them much longer.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, did he always have these things on his shoulders?
I don't know.
He just added that flare.
I think somebody
liked what were those things that they used to put in the shoulder pads?
Yeah.
He was a big fan of poofy sleeves. Webbed hands. They are ginormous. And you said they had no knees, right?
Yeah, it seemed to them that it was these spindly kind of legs with no knees.
Spindly.
Yeah.
Okay, so that makes sense in this photo.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. This is hilarious.
It is great, isn't it?
Yeah, I love it. The ears are wrong, though. And they didn't need the shoulder pads or poofy sleeves.
Beautiful. He's very spaceman.
He is very spaceman, though.
I think the artist was trying to make sure he fell in line with the spaceman type scenario.
Right. Make it a little more spacey.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I had another picture of him, but I have it side by side with something else that I'll get to later on, so I can't show you that. But I do have a picture of Mrs. Glennie Langford along with Mary Langford here kind of saying this is where the shit went down.
He was right here next to this wood pile. Oh, that's a lot of brush around, too.
Yeah, exactly. There was a lot of weeds and stuff.
For them to hide in, yeah.
Right. There's tons of stuff around. It's still, you see it? Do you see it going around my head?
Yes. Now I see this bee. I really thought you were imagining things.
Over the next few days, newspaper and radio reporters poured into Hopkinsville from Indiana, Kentucky, and Tennessee. An officer from Campbell Air Force Base arrived on the scene after hearing WHOP's coverage, though the Public Information Office denied that there had ever been an official investigation. Greenwell also claimed that 2 men arrived from Standiford, which is a commercial airfield. Despite the attention, the family declined most interviews, as did the neighbors. Now, the investigations, again, found nothing, not even a footprint, but other forms of evidence went undocumented. For example, there was no effort to collect the bullet casings, which littered the house and yard. On the second day after the incident, Project Blue Book, the UFO research group of the U.S. government, put out a press release claiming that there was no basis to the story, no official Air Force report, and no investigation was underway. It has since been listed in the Blue Book files as unidentified.
Interesting.
It is really interesting. I know. Like, no. Nothing's here. Nothing to see here, guys. Absolutely no. Nobody's investigating this at all. Turn around. Or they just Men in Blacked them.
And then paste that in that book.
Yeah, right. Still, the media coverage created a buzz and drew sightseers from the area. People drove into Kelly in such numbers that they ended up parking cars along the roads on either side of the property, and crowds of visitors surrounded the house for days. Entrepreneurs wanted to set up merchandising booths in front of the yard, but Mrs. Langford turned down every offer. She never appeared on TV or radio after the WHOP interview, and she begged people to stop visiting her home. She repeatedly called the state police to clear away sightseers. The case has no easy explanation. Most UFO sightings end up being explained as misidentified natural phenomena, such as planets and meteors, but it's impossible to account for the Kelly-Hopkinsville goblins with any natural causes. It is extremely difficult to believe how any person, object, or animal could have been seen and shot at so many times for such a long period and still mistaken as a shiny, floating, goblin-like creature.
But it is just a personal account, though. So no one else witnessed it but that family.
11 people.
Well, yes, 11 people, but all in the same household. So they could all, hey, guys, let's get together. We're going to tell the craziest story ever. I'm not saying they did that. Yeah. And the fact that she wanted nothing to do with interviews or the attention makes it seem like it really did happen. She's like, I just want to put this behind us. There was a terrible experience. I don't want to talk about it. Right. Or I don't want people to think I'm a lunatic because we went to the police and we're like, you need to look into this.
Right, exactly.
Drive out into the field a little bit further and see if something's back there.
Right.
So I believe them. I'm just saying it couldn't go into an official investigation because it was only their account, really.
Right. Well, the cops, they showed up.
The
they
lights
find
in
anything.
the sky and stuff, but there were so many people that just, wanted to have a practical excuse for it.
Right.
Yeah, and gave up quickly.
Yes.
Because they didn't have goblins in their fucking backyard.
Exactly. Still, there were those that have suggested that it was nothing more than a few great horned owls that were simply defending their territory.
I'm so tired of owls being blamed for all these aliens are cryptids. That's the same thing they think Mothman is. It's just some big owl or something. Yeah. But I admit, birds are weird.
I have something to add to that that's not in my story. I recently downloaded a book called Stories from the Messengers. Let me just show you what that looks like. It's an owl.
Counts of owls, UFOs, and deep reality.
A lot of people seem to think that there is actually a connection with owls and aliens.
That owls are aliens.
Yes. But hang on. Since we're on that line of thought, I have another picture for you.
Or they're the probes.
Yeah.
It's a picture of an owl and it says, not in fact an alien. Look at those eyes. Yeah. There's a tiny alien inside of this owl.
I know. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's why we don't see them regularly is because they're actually owls.
Yeah.
Then they're like, okay, I'm tired of being that owl. Now I'm an alien again or a goblin, whatever. So how those owls may have survived multiple gunshots, however, is certainly mysterious for all of those that do believe that they were legit owls.
Right.
How does that happen?
Yeah.
Others have suggested that the event was just a hoax. Many investigators found Billy Ray Taylor to be an unreliable witness and accused him of either exaggerating his story or making it all up. Anyways, just, like you said, they were all sitting around dinner. It's like, hey, guys,
this will be hilarious.
Yeah, wait until they get a load of this. But other witnesses, however, showed no signs of exaggeration or of an attempt to capitalize on the encounter. Langford, in particular, was considered to be an unimpeachable witness by all investigators. Even if Billy Ray or some of the others had invented their parts of the story, it seemed unlikely that all of the participants went in on the hoax together and kept up the ruse for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, no, I just don't think so.
After all, they gained nothing.
They didn't try to.
If the families contrived this story to make themselves rich and famous, then they almost completely failed to capitalize on the situation. So why did they do it then?
When we were driving back today from Vermont and I was reading through that magazine, it wasn't about aliens, but it was stories that this small little thing happened to these people and they wrote a whole fucking book about it.
Yeah.
It makes it seem like their story's kind of fake because they immediately were like, I'm going to
capitalize
on
this.
That.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But
easy money making situation right here.
Right. And then these people didn't even try.
No, she wanted nothing to do with it. She wanted to be like, I'm done. I want to go back to my simple life, my simple farmhouse life, everyone coming over for dinner, baking pies, things like that. That was another thing I was afraid of too. When I picked up that magazine, I'm like, oh, I got to get this. And I'm like, oh shit, what if my story's in this? I just handed it over to Wendy on a silver platter, So whether they were physically real or not, the little alien or goblin creatures left their mark in popular culture, as did the people who saw them. The case helped to bring reports of entity encounters into mainstream media and compelled the U.S. Air Force to begin acknowledging those stories. As more witnesses came forward with their own stories after the publicity over the Kelly incident, these types of cases became harder and harder for them to ignore. Much of the reporting, however, was inaccurate and often hostile, especially in the national press. Reporters referred to the unknown entities as little men and exaggerated their number and their intent. Most papers described the event as an invasion, despite the creature's non-violent nature. Out-of-state papers referred to these creatures as little green men, a term used in Orson Welles' War of the Worlds, even though no one had described the beings as being green.
Yeah, we said silver, and they could not be shot.
Right.
I'd be important note to be put in there. And I get that the aliens themselves weren't hostile.
Yeah.
They played with your hair, which, actually, I don't like people touching my hair.
No.
So I have a very sensitive head.
Right.
So that could be a little rude.
That was a little rude.
Yeah. But they're definitely rude watching them peeping in windows and shit, too.
Yeah, no kidding.
But I mean, if you're shooting at them and they won't go away, then that is a little hostile. I mean, I told you to go.
They took it
get
as
off my
hostile. That's
property.
right. They were shouting
They felt
at it.
threatened.
Yeah, they did.
Yes.
So they felt
they were
it was hostile.
trespassing.
Right. They just
and
never.
in the South, for sure.
That's right.
You have legal course.
Get the hell off my property.
Yeah, to bring out those guns. But I get it. I get what they're saying about, like, it's not like they attacked them or anything like that. And then to change the color, that's just ridiculous.
I know. Isn't that funny? Yeah. They're not silver at all anymore. Now they're gray. It's because that's the common image, right? They had to morph it into...
People do say little gray men or
gray
something,
men.
though.
Yeah.
I've
like Whitley
heard
Strieber.
Yeah. He was trying to be OG with it.
That's right.
Maybe green was just a better color to draw in cartoons.
Maybe.
Kids like that color over gray.
Maybe. Whatever happened that night, it's clear that the witnesses felt it was something otherworldly. After being hounded by tourists and afraid of the return of those creatures, Langford sold the home just a few months after the incident, and everyone did their best to just move on.
See? Oh my gosh.
Isn't it?
How could you not believe them?
That's what I'm saying.
They saw something. And it wasn't a fucking owl.
Right. And okay, so you got one guy in the family who's probably more like me, who does exaggerate a little bit. But the rest of the family's like, okay, yeah, Billy Ray, maybe he didn't shoot it as many times as he thinks he shot it. But I did see a bullet hit that one, and it just got down on all fours and scurried away.
I don't think that birds would keep coming back after something like that either.
No, I don't think so either.
No, you shoot at them and they're gone.
They're gone.
Yeah.
That's a threat. That's not like, let's play. Let's see if I can catch the
What animal
bullet.
do you know besides dogs? They're really silly.
They're silly, yeah.
They're like, were you going to pet me? I couldn't tell.
Yeah, all right. Let's try this again.
Yeah.
Let's start over. I don't know any animals that are like that.
No.
Not one.
It's a natural instinct for them to protect themselves.
Yeah.
So why would they come back and keep fucking with you like that?
Right. What do they have to gain from peering at you from the window?
I don't know, though. I think I could envision an owl doing that.
Yeah. Once
if
or
it was
twice.
bored. Yeah.
Hold on a second. What is that?
Just looking in the window.
So the Kelly community now hosts an annual celebration that embraces the highly recognizable image of the little green-skinned alien and pays homage to the whole encounter during their Little Green Men Festival, which happens in August. The case became one of the most famous possible alien encounters of all time. It chilled people to hear about it, and it captured the imagination of writers and filmmakers, particularly Steven Spielberg. While knee-deep in researching UFO phenomenon for Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Spielberg was struck by the Kelly-Hopkinsville incident and wanted to tell some version of it in his next feature. The movie would be called Night Skies and would center on a family at a farmhouse besieged by vicious aliens, while one of the children would befriend a gentler alien who would be different from the others. Ultimately, it never came to fruition, and his idea ended up splitting into two different movies. Spielberg would, of course, make his movie about a child befriending an alien only a few years later with E.T. As Wendy mentioned earlier, I was like, shit, she does know the story. And the other movie about a family besieged by otherworldly forces did come about, but the aliens would be swapped for the paranormal, and that movie would be known as Poltergeist.
Okay. That's a weird split.
It is a
but
weird
okay.
split. Yeah, I know. It is. But still. These ideas would merge again later on when Spielberg produced Joe Dante's Gremlins. The ears?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
The first Gremlins scared the shit out of me when I was a kid.
I love Gremlins.
But the second one was so hilarious. It made me rewatch the first one and be like, okay, I get it.
Yeah, I know.
This is kind of funny.
They went a little overboard with the second one, but it was a fun movie. I think they're both Christmas movies, aren't they? I watched the first one for Christmas
I
anyway.
think they do. The second one definitely is Christmas.
Oh, okay.
I think the first one is too.
Yeah. So Chris Columbus's original draft was a much darker horror film, but Spielberg sought to make it more fun, and the Gremlins themselves look very similar to the way the Hopkinsville goblins were described.
Yeah, I could totally see that.
Yeah, he pulled that one out really nicely, I think.
Yeah.
But
the ears are still not floppy. But
no, they're there. They're like wings almost.
they're like that picture you showed me.
Yeah.
Those are like bat ears.
They're like bat ears. But that's not all. The 1986 film titled Critters was based on this encounter, and the similarities of Critters to the actual accounts are, again, very similar.
Yeah.
Like the encounter itself, the events of the film truly begin when the two members of the family, in this case Brad Brown and his father Jay, see a shooting star streak across the sky and go off to investigate, only to first be attacked by the critters and then rush inside back into the farmhouse where the attack continues on.
You know, I didn't know it was this easy to write a movie.
I didn't either.
All you have to do is pick out some of the stories that we have already told on this podcast, flare them up just a little bit, which we usually do, just spitballing anyway to make it a little juicier or funnier.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Why the fuck are we not writing movies?
We just need to get Steven Spielberg to like and subscribe to our podcast. And we can all make out on this. This is a win-win situation for everybody. But these are all movies that I've seen from my childhood. But what's funny is with Critters, I never, ever imagined in my lifetime I'd find out that that was based on a real-life encounter.
I don't want to find out that those things are creepy, man.
It was a creepy movie.
Yeah, because they were small.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, they could be anywhere.
They had teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't look like the Kelly-Hopkinsville goblins, but they were
sneaky as fuck, though, and you couldn't get rid of them.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Right, they wouldn't die. But let me turn your attention away from the 80s movie for just a moment so that I can tell you about another clever capitalization on the creature's likeness from the Kelly-Hopkinsville Encounter. The Pokemon Sableye, which was introduced in Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, not only are they fairly cuter, especially when comparing them to gremlins, but in the games they are animated with a swaying motion, which was based on the creature's reported gait. Now I have another picture for you and another rendering of the goblins as well. And this rendering is actually more well known. It's been seen a lot, even a lot more lately. But I have it side by side with the Pokemon Sableye.
So the Pokemon makers are into aliens, is what you're saying?
There are actually a handful of Pokemon that are based off of either legends or real life animals that you'd be like, are you shitting me? Yeah, that's a real creature.
Now I see why you got into Pokemon when your son did.
Right,
You're
exactly.
Like, yeah, sure.
When I found that out, I was like, Tyler, go upstairs and get me your Sableye. And he's like, I don't have Sableye. And I'm like, stop it. I need Sableye for my podcast. You don't have it? He's like, no. Then you better get your ass on eBay and get me one.
Wow. So, yeah, the eyes are like on the side, which they did say that. Yeah, the eyes were like bulging out and on the side. Mm-hmm. The ears are still bat ears, not floppy.
Right.
But maybe when they moved, they were floppy.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, they
were tall and then they kind of bounced.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they meant.
I could see that. Sure.
Yeah. No, I can totally see this, except for he does have knees.
Yeah, well, he is a Pokemon. You know, he's got a...
Yeah, it would look weird, him trying to do his activities.
Without any knees?
Without any knees. I think that'd be a hard one for people to get around.
Isn't he cute, though?
Yeah.
He's now my favorite Pokemon. That's for sure. Gotta catch them all, guys. Also, for anyone keeping track of all of these obscure facts for your next trivia night, apparently the farm invasion scenario in the Nintendo 64 game Majora's Mask was also based on the Kelly-Hopkinsville Encounter.
I'm wondering if the movie The Signs was also inspired by this, because it's a farm.
Yeah, it is a farm.
Yeah, and I think they might have shot at it too, and they didn't know if they heard it. Now, it's not the same kind of aliens at all.
Right. He goes a different direction with it, but the idea is kind of similar. You're right.
Yeah, but I guess, being out there with no witnesses is kind of a key to selling a movie like that.
Yeah.
That these encounters can happen and everybody's like, you're crazy.
Yeah.
Because there's no neighbors. Like in my neighborhood, it's like everyone knows when there's been a bobcat spotted or something like that.
Yeah.
So I think they'd notice if an alien was around.
Right.
But when you live on a farm, there's all this space.
Right.
So things can happen. So I don't know that it was necessarily inspired by this. Maybe it's just a really great setting for UFOs.
It is. I mean, it is that classic storyline.
Yeah.
Like you suggested. And going back to the Kelly-Hopkinsville case, the neighbors did see lights, but they didn't go and investigate it because they thought it was just them looking for their pigs or whatever. So
yeah,
they heard the gunshots too.
And they didn't go investigate that.
No, they were just like, maybe they thought it was a coyote or something. I mean, they are out in the wilderness.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's true.
So that's all I got for the Kelly-Hopkinsville encounter. So remember I said I had a few stories. So in 1976, one of the most credible of all alien abduction stories again happened right in Kentucky. 3 women were driving home from dinner on US 27 in Stanford when they saw what they thought was an airplane on fire falling from the sky. But the object stopped on a dime less than 100 feet away from the ground beside them, and, the women claimed, it caused the car to accelerate uncontrollably. They could now see what they described as a disc-shaped craft with revolving yellow lights that maneuvered behind them and began pulling their vehicle towards it.
No.
Oh, wait, this one's so bad. A blue light then filled the car, and the next thing the women remember was being back on the highway driving home. But all were confused and noticeably hot, like they had just been subjected to an incredible, powerful sun lamp.
Oh my God. They've all had probes up their ass.
I mean, this one was like
Did they all
Betty
end
and
up
Barney
pregnant afterwards?
No.
Okay.
No. They had all lost about an hour and a half of time, and none of them could account for it. Residents of nearby counties independently reported the same UFO around the time of the alleged encounter. In the following months, skeptical investigators subjected the women to polygraphs, which they all passed, and under deep hypnosis. All 3 women recalled being taken aboard a UFO and subjected to a physical examination by small silent beings with large eyes and hands like jagged wingtips.
Jagged wingtips.
Talons. I guess, I don't know.
That's painful.
That is bad. One claimed to have been placed in a glass capsule where a skin sample was taken from her chest.
Ugh.
And another woman claimed that her eyes were temporarily removed from their sockets and replaced.
No. Replaced with what?
They were just like, okay.
They're
right
like,
back in.
these things look funny.
They're not on both sides of their heads. Why are they
They're
right
so
here?
small.
They're so small.
They probably saw her breasts and they're like, look at all this extra skin. We'll just take some of this.
Let's just take some of that. Yeah, exactly. Well, each of the women had symptoms like burns and eye inflammation, which was consistent with their statements. And in 1978, a flurry of UFO activity in the Fayette and Madison County area earned the region its nickname, the Bluegrass Triangle. Doesn't that sound like a sweet band? Ding, 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 dinner time. In one instance, Madison County firemen were called to put out a fire that turned out to be a glowing flying saucer UFO that they pursued for over an hour. In another encounter, a preacher and his wife claimed that a craft about 10 stories high and 20 stories wide with a zillion lights on it.
Look, I don't fucking know how many it was.
A zillion.
Everybody's like, there were 18 lights. You know, 9
there.
on this side, 9 on that
Right.
side. They were like, there were a lot of fucking lights on it.
That's-
Okay?
I mean,
A
that sounds like
zillion.
how I would
was
describe
just
it.
Bright as could be. Not normal.
Right.
That's all I'm trying to tell you.
I'm trying to tell you that even a bus doesn't have this many damn lights on it. It approached their car while they were on their way to church. Anyways, a teenager named Terry Kirby took a Polaroid of what he says was a large glowing saucer that descended near him while he was chopping wood.
I wonder if he was like, please take me out of this situation. Who the fuck wants to chop wood? You
No,
know,
I know,
what
right?
I mean? It's like you're sitting at work hoping you'll get abducted.
Yes. That's exactly what he's doing. So he's like, please, something else happen.
He's just waiting, and they're like, he's too eager.
Mr. Eager Beaver down there. No, thank you. We like the ones we can sneak up on. In all, over 20 reputable citizens reported similar experiences in the region during the same time frame. These reports were rampant.
So what happens? If they're making the stories up, everybody's, oh, me too.
Oh, me too.
Me too.
I saw something too. I mean, it depends. Again, you have to like really delve into these people and decide if they're credible witnesses.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm sure some of them were like, needy for attention.
Mm-hmm.
But there's 20 people in town like that.
right. And the thing that gets me is all of these stories, like when this happens, there are other reports coming in at the same time. They don't even know that this happened over on the farm. They're just like, hey, I saw something weird. Police officer, can you come and take a look at it? These reports are coming in, not even knowing about this one incident.
So they're hanging out in the area,
Yeah.
kind of inspecting all these people.
Kentucky. What the fuck? Now, Kentucky continues to have stories just like these, and some are even really bizarre. I read dozens of MUFON reports, including one that involved a train that apparently crashed into a UFO in early 2000.
Wait, like a ship or just the UFO, like the titanium UFO?
Yeah.
UFO. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It was this like spaceship.
Yes.
I was just thinking of like an alien man on the tracks, very Superman-like.
Yeah.
And like, no.
No.
And just
That
the
would be
whole
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, since I am talking movies, that would be a good one.
Why can't the aliens look like Superman? That would be nice.
I think that, them looking like owls is kind of nice.
Mm.
As long as they don't look like goblins. Come on. So just a little food for thought. Whether it's aliens, goblins, or UFO sightings that you're searching for, you might just get your pick of the litter in Kentucky. It really reminded me of the infamous X-Files poster that was always prominently displayed in the basement office of Fox Mulder. The poster, which is a picture of a UFO with the words that say, "I want to believe," will always be engraved in my mind every time I think about aliens or UFOs. And just because I've been talking a lot about evidence, or sometimes the lack thereof, well, the poster that I just mentioned that hangs in the basement office of Fox Mulder is thought to have been based on a real UFO picture taken by UFOologist Billy Edward Albert Meyer in Switzerland back in 1975.
Why does he have so many names for one thing?
Because he's a scientist. He's got to, or he's a killer. There's a spider on your microphone there.
What?
He'd be a little guy. Or he's an alien. I'm not sure. I don't know. Usually when you say people with all of their names, don't they end up turning out to be like serial killers or something like that?
Yeah.
So Billy was in quotation, so he went by Billy. But his full name was Edward Albert Meyer. We'll just call him Billy. I don't think he killed anybody. I think he's a good guy. So listeners, keep your camera phones on you and pointed to the sky, because you never know when you might capture the next big TV icon, or just capture proof of extraterrestrial life for yourself. And since you'll have your phone on you at all times, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to our Paranormal Podcast. And if you have any alien stories that you'd like to share, maybe you live in Kentucky and you know of the juiciest alien goblin story that I might have left out, please write to us and let us know. We are at creaturesofthenightparanormal@gmail.com. I will do my best to load as many goblin alien pictures this week and the week prior. I'm just going to be overloading you with alien pictures. It's going to be my favorite.
I want side-by-sides, though, of like the gremlins.
Oh, okay.
And, yeah. Let's do some of that.
All right, that'll be fun. So yeah, I really enjoyed that story. If you haven't seen Hellier, I would highly recommend it. I don't know, it's on YouTube, it's on Amazon Prime, it's Greg and Dana Newkirk. We've talked about them before. I was really captivated by their series. They are paranormal investigators, but they somehow got sucked into this story of goblins and went after it themselves. That was in Kentucky. So I thought that was incredible. I don't think they were near this area. They might have talked about it. It's been a while since I saw the first and second series of Hellier. So I do know about it. I just didn't delve into it because it's all over the place. And if you follow Greg or Dana Newkirk, they're always talking about it on Twitter or whatever, because it's a damn good series. So I recommend it. And it's fun and it's paranormal. And it's paranormal in another way, because they're almost chasing like Mothman stories and then the goblins and then what the hell else is out there. It's very interesting. There is a scene in the show where they start finding Mylar balloons in the woods.
You are lying.
No, I am not.
Listen, y'all have to understand why I'm so fucking excited. We were yesterday at the Floon Gorge, and there was a fucking Mylar balloon.
Yeah.
Did you think it was tied down because of what you had learned on the show or something?
Yeah, I was like, oh,
like somebody placed
God.
it there?
Yep. Yes, exactly what I was thinking. That's why, they're going to think I'm nuts, but I can't explain this to Wendy right now because I have this whole story lined up. And I'm like, I really want to see what's over there. And I made up some story about, let's protect the environment. I need to get this balloon away from these poor little critters.
Oh, well, there was a lot of signs that said don't go off the trail. So they were trying to protect the environment, and Mylar balloons will hurt them.
And it was a full Mylar balloon. It wasn't like it wasn't
flat. There was still air in it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was odd.
I mean, it wasn't like tight, like it just came from Party City, and just floated away.
Yeah.
But it's still kicking.
It's supposed to be like a representation of like signs. Not the movie.
No, I know that. But I mean signs of like that there was a goblin there, or there was an alien encounter there,
almost,
or what?
Either you're on the right track of something or stop and go away. Don't investigate this. It depends on where you are.
Those are two polar opposites. How are you supposed to know which one?
Have you
Keep going
seen Hellier?
Or back off.
No, I think it really depends on where you are. The Mylar balloons, the way that they were finding them, it was almost like breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I would take it.
Yeah.
I would not be deterred by a balloon. Wait, that's how they got people in it.
Yes.
God damn. Going down.
Yeah.
I love how you said, what did you say? They're paranormal investigators, but somehow they got on a goblin story.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty easy to do.
It is easy to do, isn't it?
You just say goblins, and I'm like, are you going to tell me about goblins?
Well, they had so many synchronicities in that story. I'm a huge Mothman fan anyways.
Yeah.
And I downloaded the book to listen to it. And And at the same time, the first Hellier season was released. So I'm already knee deep in this story. And as I'm watching it, they're like, this is so like Mothman. I'm like, stop it. I'm reading that book right now. Well, I'm listening to it, but
same thing.
And they start, delving into the author Keel and all of these other like synchronicities. It was all these things that just kept popping up. You go off looking sometimes for the paranormal, but sometimes it just shows up. It's just there, like the Mylar balloons, the little breadcrumbs that they kept finding. So it's definitely interesting. Like I said, I didn't put a whole bunch of, just go on YouTube and find it. It's a great, I think the first series is maybe 5 or 6 episodes, and the second one is maybe 5 or 6 episodes. So each one of them are about an hour to 45 minutes long, and it's fun. It's fun stuff. So I recommend it if you haven't seen it yet.
I love that. You've been talking about that series to me, and I just, you know me. I don't know. What am I doing with my time? I can't keep up with myself ever, so I haven't gotten to watch it. So I appreciate you giving me a little insight on what this show's about so that I'm more intrigued to do that. I am getting back on a workout routine, so I need stuff to watch, right?
That's a good one.
And this story, oh my God. I just knew there was something about your husband taking that pause. And then I thought, no, you're just being needy just because he didn't respond right away. And there you go. You played it so cool in the car.
Oh my God. Well, last night when you're telling me your story, I'm like, oh shit. The whole time you're talking, I'm like, is she going to tell one of mine? Is she going to tell one of mine?
There's so many stories.
I know. That's why.
And that's honestly why it's so hard to talk about alien life. And it does trail off into these kind of cryptic characters as well.
Yeah.
Because you're like, wait, was it that I was experiencing or this? And I imagine that there's some ghost stories that are that way too. Obviously, if you see a little mist or something like that, you're like, well, I'm sure that's a ghost, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. There he is. Yeah. Found you.
Or you recognize this spirit as like someone that you knew or someone famous, I guess, or something like that.
Yeah.
Then you're like, yeah, that's a ghost.
Right.
But, you think of like full body apparitions that they talk about and stuff like, but doing creepy things like disappearing and everything.
Yeah.
What if it's not an apparition?
Right.
What if it's something else? We just never know. It's so hard to study. They seem to be able to study us fairly easy, but it's not the other way around that we know of, at least.
Right, exactly.
There's all these areas that are cut off from us so that we won't know.
I really love how you're reacting to the story.
I love aliens.
I do too. I love them. And that's the incredible thing. Like how I started out telling you the stories, that there's so many different stories out there. So it made it really hard for me to just pinpoint which one I wanted to tell. And it also makes it harder because there's a lot of like bullshit stories out there too. And you're just like, okay, yeah, you were drunk. We know. We know what you were doing. But one thing that I heard, well, like I said a second ago, I downloaded a new book, and it's The Stories from the Messengers by Mike Cleland. And in that book, I heard this quote. So I wanted to at least connect it to my story as well, because it just made so much sense. Anne Stryber, who's the late wife of Whitley Strieber, who I've read a couple of his books as well. She once said that if it's not weird, I don't trust it.
I love her.
I love her too.
Yeah.
Great advice. So that's all that I had. I'm glad that you liked it.
That was amazing. I enjoyed so much of it. And the pictures this week are going to be
crazy.
So entertaining.
Yeah, that's true.
You call it crazy. I call it entertaining.
Cool. Yeah. It'll be entertaining picking them up and maybe doing side by sides.
Yeah. All right. So I guess that's all that we got then.
That's it.
All right. Bye.
Bye.